Okay, thank you very much. I am Maja Bystrom, and together with my co-author, Jérôme Gorin, I'll be talking about dynamic multimedia pipelines for opening browsers to new formats. Now, this is a bit of a diversion from some of the work that we've heard earlier today, in that we're going to be talking about applications of WebAssembly and some of the tools we've developed to make the applications more feasible for novice users. So let me turn immediately to the problem that we're addressing, and that is there's a host of multimedia formats out in the world. Here's a snapshot from Can I Use of two popular ones, OGG Theora Video and JPEG XL image format. And what we see are that these are not universally supported, and in fact, browsers have been adding and dropping formats at will. So what this means for people in the multimedia field is that there is a great deal of content already produced in these formats. So how actually should we handle content that's been produced and stored in these formats? And also, there's a great deal of uncertainty that puts barriers for format developers. How do they know that they'll be able to use their format within things like web browsers? So we are addressing this problem, as I think must be obvious to everybody here in a WebAssembly workshop, by inserting a decoder or transcoder built in WebAssembly between the legacy or brand new formats that are not supported by certain browsers. Our WebAssembly transcoder or pipeline will take for instance, legacy MPEG-1 video, and using wrapper, written also in WebAssembly or JavaScript control code, and convert it into something that is more universally supported by browsers that can be easily displayed by an HTML video or Canvas element. So that while this may be obvious to all of us, the challenges lie, first of all, in building a WebAssembly pipeline, so a WebAssembly decoder or transcoder. And although it's clear that with the help of everybody in this room, that great strides are being made toward making WebAssembly more accessible to developers, it's still going to be a challenge, I think, to folks who really focus on format development or even website development. So the key challenges we see are being able to generate a multimedia pipeline on the fly. And we do this for a number of different reasons, including flexibility and code reuse. And also we generate pipelines really for adaptability. Pipelines are composed of subcomponents, and you can put in subcomponents at will to test out new formats or to perhaps deal with optimization for certain platforms, or even in terms of dealing with intellectual property issues, you may want to switch out subcomponents. Once I discuss a multimedia pipeline, then I'll talk a little bit about how this relates to implementing within websites. And we want to make sure that it's easy for both site developers, format developers, everybody who has to work with multimedia to be able to handle it and the WebAssembly components very easily. So I'll review 3 different types of approaches and show some demonstrations of performance. And along the lines of performance, I'll show you some of the hard performance numbers that we have been coming up with. So let me start by focusing what is a multimedia pipeline, and this may not be as familiar to many of the people in the room. But a pipeline is a algorithm broken up into multiple elements. Each of these sub-elements is linked. We might call them filters or sub-algorithms. The pipeline is unidirectional for a transcoder pipeline, which is what we're seeing at the top of the page. We would have an input element, a demuxer element, in the middle, a decoder, and then a re-encoder, and then off towards the right, a multiplexer, and then an output element. The reason we want to build these on the fly rather than having a really static, monolithic, precompiled element that we could insert in a web page is that, as I said before, it gives us a little bit of flexibility. And the way we build them on the fly is that we would take input data, in this case, OGG video as shown on the right, insert it into a main module. We'll call this one Solver Generation 1. And Solver 1.1 Generation 1 will take the video and a whole set of side modules, and using a little bit of optimization, resolve the pipeline with these given side modules. And notice that the side modules can consist of things related to this certain type of video, Vorbis Theora, as well as a host of other side modules. So I've included in there a JPEG XL side module, and it could be a wide range of side modules handling a vast set of different types of video. So the main module dynamically links the side modules in the pipeline and then efficiently executes the pipeline. Now, moving on to how we would ensure that this can be implemented in a website very efficiently, let me first turn to web components. And I'll also, when I discuss each of these, I'll, as I advertised earlier, show demos of this from a showcase that we have produced. So starting with web components, web components is really familiar HTML notation. It lets us reuse HTML elements and extend them using additional attributes. So here we see a traditional HTML canvas element. We've extended it using a universal canvas, and we can see additional attributes, including the main module solver, a restricted set of side modules, and then the input data stream, which would be an OGG container. So the universal canvas, here written in JavaScript, would read in the data that we want to display on our page, instantiate the WASM instance. Solver would then perform its magic by resolving and creating a pipeline and then running the trailer 1080p through the pipeline to produce both the video out and the audio out. So let me show a demonstration of this in action. We'll go to our showcase, and you can see that this Big Buck Bunny trailer automatically plays. So it's stored, as we showed before, in an OGG format container. And then if we take a look at the inspector, you can see the web components that produced this particular video. Now, I'll also show you a JPEG XL image in action. Again, here we see the image tag, and if we go on to inspector, you could see that we have extended the image tag with universal image, but again, are using a solver and a libjxl precompiled WASM library component. So web components is very familiar, and it gives a lot of power to a format developer who might want to do testing and development. However, it's not very transparent in the sense that you have to understand HTML and have to track your attributes and so forth. Second example is a MutationObserver, where you would use standard HTML, and MutationObserver is an interface that provides the ability to watch for changes being made on the document object module tree and react to them. So in this case, the MutationObserver on a decoding failure would divert to a decode function, which then has to contain the main module solver and an entire set of side modules. So obviously, this approach requires a decode wrapper that can actually be complex because it has to handle a vast variety of multimedia that might be used in any particular site. However, when released as a monolith, it's very transparent to a user or a site builder. A little less flexible for folks like format developers, though. However, let me go ahead and again show you a demo using our showcase. Here we again are seeing the JPEG XL image, and you can see highlighted in Inspector that we have, where you just use the simple, straightforward HTML specification of image source, but we do have a mutation observer that sends this data to the image decoder. And the same thing happens for audio as well as video. Okay, the last example I'd like to talk about is ServiceWorker. And in this case, we are reusing a container, in this an MP4 container, MP4 container in this example. And this container has both the embedded HTML, so the web components approach that we saw before, the main and slide modules, as well as the raw data. So we know that service workers are really specialized JavaScript components that work as proxies between web browsers and web servers. In this case, we're using the JPAC MP4 box service worker. And what that will do is extract the web components portion. And note that this looks very similar to what we saw before. However, I've also added the attribute that we will be using web codec. It extracts the main and side modules, runs the solver and the ISO-BMF MP4 handler, and sends the raw data down to web codec. So that is an API that lets you use the underlying codec control from the browser. So I'll quickly show you, hopefully, two examples from service workers. So again, we'll start with a video trailer. So we see that the trailer is packed in an MP4 container. Once we click on this, we'll see that the MP4 container, or we'll realize the MP4 container is unpacked, pipeline is built, and the service worker has sprung into action, and the video plays very quickly. Now going to a different example, I'll show you 360 content. Again, we see the web components HTML up on the right, and you can see the interactive nature of the 360 content on the left. So I'll go very quickly over a little bit of performance considerations. So Service Worker is very transparent to a user, however, puts a burden on the designer who is going to be packing all of the data and all of the side modules and main modules into the container that's used. So we really have to consider how big our main modules and side modules are. And in the cases that I've demonstrated, they're actually fairly reasonable. Quickly thinking about speed, if we look at the table in the lower left, if you think a few slides back, only Safari natively supports JPEG XL display. So using the Zoltan image, we've measured a 17 millisecond decoding display time for this particular image. Our pipeline approach, because it includes the pipeline creation, instantiation, et cetera, as well as decoding, is significantly slower than native decoding. However, it still is at 100 milliseconds, and hopefully our demos convinced you that this is useful. Okay, the same thing happens in the video case. Quickly, we are able to offer a very satisfactory 67 frames per second for a large image size, 1080p. And compared to a JavaScript solution that is cross-compiled into WebAssembly, we are just slightly slower, and that's due to our pipeline construction. So hopefully this is a little bit convincing that WebAssembly is providing us a fantastic application for multimedia developers, content providers, content hosters. For anybody who wants to take a closer look at what we demoed, I have the link up at the top of this page. For anybody who's interested in looking and assisting, I provide a lot of other links to our open source resources, and I'm now happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much for the talk. I appreciate you might not be able to hear the room unless I speak directly into the mic. We've got some questioners lined up now, but thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, my question is, so you had shown the full time to render included the instantiation time of the WebAssembly module and whatnot. Do you know how much of that is the instantiation time? Because assuming that that stuff is preloaded, I imagine it's probably not actually that bad.
No, well, I think getting a little bit of feedback there, but no, it actually isn't that bad. And I can invite my co-author, Jérôme, who actually did the measurements, and see if he has anything to add to that. I think Jérôme is unmuted. Okay, I don't think we can hear him, but no, I'm sorry, we can't hear him, but maybe I can answer the next question. And anybody who has additional questions and thoughts can feel free to reach out to either of us directly.
I guess I have one question. You talked a lot about how the existing features of the web, like service workers, are allowing you to do a lot of good things. Are there any big missing features that you'd be interested in us adding, given you have some of the standards body in the room here?
Well, given that we have some of the standards body in the room, we would love to see some of this standardized and incorporated, so we didn't have to include ServiceWorker on the pages. We'd be thrilled to have even something like our web components standardized, just to make things easier for all of the folks like multimedia developers, and not just multimedia. This is useful for really displaying any type of data within browsers.
If you did keep on using this strategy, are there any core WebAssembly features that you might think might make it easier for you?
Certainly. It's 2:30 in the morning my time, so off the top of my head, nothing is immediately coming, but we are certainly happy to get back to the room with those. There are, yeah. And
all good, thanks for that. We have one more question lined up.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm not really a WebAssembly guy, but I've been doing some work with video in the last years, mainly with GStreamer. And I think I can do in GStreamer is make my own element to put in the middle of the pipeline to, for example, I don't know, do a YOLO inference, and then that will pop out frames directly with YOLO. Is that something I could be able to express in your approach?
Yeah. So things are, so again, I blew through the pipelines very quickly because I didn't think that was so much of a focus of this audience. But really, the pipelines are flexible, that you could, really develop anything that you want within them.
Thank you.
Hopefully I understood and answered your question with that. Yeah.
A similar abstraction as GStreamer as elements or bins, for example.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. We're going to thank you one last time. I don't know if you can hear our applause or not.
I can, but thank you to the audience.